Look at Beyonce right now, 53 years old, but try to find a wrinkle, try to find a crease, because the internet has been obsessed with one question nobody in mainstream media will touch. Why does this woman not age?
After we found out why Beyonce made a lot of the songs that she did and for what reasons, I am not shocked one bit to find out that Jay-Z is allegedly listed in the Epstein.
That line right there cracked something open, because 50 Cent didn't just stop at Jay-Z, he kept going, and now he's pointing directly at Beyonce, not just for what Jay allegedly did, but for what she allegedly knew, what she was allegedly around, and what may have been happening on that island that kept certain people looking frozen in time.
50 is still keeping his foot firmly on Jay-Z and Beyonce's necks, and now he's hinting that Beyonce herself might be tied into this whole Epstein situation.
And then there's this from a congresswoman who actually read the unredacted files, and what she described changes everything.
Directly at the emails that have been widely circulated pertaining to the age 11, and I have it written down on my notes, the permission to kill email, the Snow White, the littlest girl was naughty, etc. And some of them pertaining to, jerky, whatever that is. Yeah.
Jerky. Remember that word, because by the end of this video, jerky is going to mean something completely different to you. And when you connect it to Beyonce's skin, her diet, her alleged rituals, the picture that forms is one that nobody in Hollywood wants you to see. But here's what nobody is connecting until now. Let's start with what everyone can see. Beyonce Knowles Carter is in her early 50s, and if you went purely off her appearance, the skin, the glow, the muscle tone, the fullness in her face, you would guess mid-20s, maybe 30 on a bad day. And look, genetics are real. Good skincare is real. Money buys the best dermatologists in the world. We know all that. But even the most devoted Bayhive members have started whispering quietly, this is different. Because it's not just that she looks good for her age, it's that she looks like she stopped aging somewhere around 2005 and just stayed there. Compare photos of Beyonce from Destiny's Child to photos from the Renaissance Tour. The world aged around her. Her peers aged around her. Jay-Z aged, visibly, significantly. But Beyonce somehow frozen, and the internet noticed. Comment sections across YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, all asking the same thing. What is she eating? What is she doing? What does she know that we don't? Now, most people brush it off, chalk it up to money, lighting, filters, Photoshop, sure. Except 50 Cent is not most people. And 50 Cent started asking that same question, publicly, loudly, in a way that made the Carters very, very uncomfortable. By now, you know the basics. Jay-Z's name surfaced in the Epstein files. A woman came forward claiming she woke up inside Epstein's mansion and that Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein were both present in the room. That alone would end most careers. But the Carters are not most people. They moved fast. They moved quietly.
You probably heard that Jay-Z's name popped up in those Epstein files. There's a woman claiming she woke up inside Epstein's mansion and she says Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein were both in the room.
And here's how you know the Carters panicked. Watch what happened to the media. The Shade Room deleted their post. TMZ said nothing. People Magazine, silent. US Weekly, nothing. Billboard, Complex, all the outlets that would normally feast on a story like this, radio silence.
Close to Beyonce said she was furious because apparently the Carters had already paid off major media outlets to not talk about this. Even the Shade Room quietly deleted their post about Jay being named in the Epstein files.
They bought the silence. And for a minute, it worked. Most stories like this get buried in the news cycle, swept under the rug, forgotten by next Tuesday. The Carters have enough power and enough money to make almost anything disappear, almost.
Damn, they got your man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this.
50 Cent, the one variable the Carters could not control, the one man in the industry who genuinely doesn't care about your lawyers, your publicists, or your alleged media deals. And not only did 50 refuse to back down when Beyonce allegedly sent her legal team to warn him to stop posting, he got louder.
So after 50 posted about possibly doing a documentary on Jay-Z's connection to Epstein, a source close to Beyonce said she was furious, jumped right back on social media and shared a cryptic post hinting that Beyonce might want to back off. 50 also shared this AI-generated clip of himself and wrote in the caption, "I smell beef and pop."
I smell beef and popcorn. Now, if you followed 50's career at all, you know that line is not just trolling. That is a man who has something, because 50 Cent doesn't threaten documentaries he can't make. We watched him do it to Diddy. He dug up footage, stories, receipts, things people didn't even know existed, and he put them all in a film that helped unravel one of the most powerful men in the music industry. industry, and now he's turning that same energy toward the Carters. But here's where it gets deeper, because 50 isn't just talking about Jay-Z and Epstein anymore. He started dropping hints about Beyonce specifically, about what she looks like, about why she doesn't age, and about what kind of company she may have been keeping. Now we need to talk about the Epstein files themselves, because buried inside those documents in emails that were sent back and forth between Epstein and his circle, investigators and congresspeople started flagging a very specific word, a word that keeps appearing over and over again in contexts that make absolutely no sense if you take it at face value. The word is jerky.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has seen the unredacted files describing 11-year-olds and permission to kill. She confirmed the use of code words in Epstein's emails, including jerky.
Now think about that. A sitting U.S. congresswoman, someone who has actually read the unredacted documents, and she's flagging this word specifically. Listen to how she describes the emails.
Directly at the emails that have been widely circulated pertaining to the age 11, and I have it written down on my notes, the permission to kill email, the Snow White, the littlest girl was naughty, etc., and some of them pertaining to, jerky, whatever that is. Yeah.
Whatever that is, she genuinely doesn't know, or she does know and can't say it directly on camera. But researchers and investigators who have gone through those emails line by line have been connecting dots that point somewhere deeply disturbing. Jerky being delivered overnight, jerky kept in freezers, jerky brought to the island, jerky shared among a specific closed group of ultra-powerful people.
Jeffrey Epstein is asking to bring him more jerky. I'm flying in on Friday. I will bring jerky.
Why would a man of Epstein's wealth, a man who could eat anything, order anything, fly anything in from anywhere in the world, be this fixated on jerky? Why is it delivered overnight? Why is it frozen? Why is it rationed? Why is it treated like it's rare and precious? These are not the behaviors of someone talking about beef jerky from a gas station. This is something else entirely. And the deeper you go into these files, the clearer the picture gets. Investigators have drawn connections between these emails and what insiders have described as a grotesque subculture that ran beneath the surface of Hollywood's elite circles for years. A culture of consumption, a culture of rituals, a culture where certain people believed that ingesting something forbidden gave them something in return. Power, youth, vitality. Now, does that word vitality ring a bell? Because we're about to circle back to Beyonce's face. Here's what multiple insiders have described, and this is the part that connects directly to the ageless question. Within certain elite circles, the kind that had access to Epstein's island, his Manhattan mansion, his other properties, there was a shared belief system, not a casual one, a deep ritualistic belief that certain acts, certain forms of consumption could transfer youth, could slow aging, could absorb vitality from the young. This sounds insane until you start reading the testimonies of people who were inside those circles. One former insider described it this way, and the language they used was chilling. She believed consumption was transformation, that youth could be taken in, that vitality could be absorbed. She talked about ancient rites, about elites throughout history who understood what the masses didn't. That description wasn't about Beyonce. But when you layer it on top of everything we already know about Beyonce's alleged behavior, her alleged beliefs, and the people she surrounded herself with, the overlap is impossible to ignore. Because Beyonce has her own set of allegations, and they've been building for years. Let's go back to 2018. Beyonce's former drummer, a woman named Kimberly Thompson, didn't just quietly leave the camp and move on with her life. She filed a restraining order against Beyonce in open court, and the reason she cited was not beef about money or credits or tour conditions. It was darker than any of that.
This has been going on since 2006, and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. And for a very long time, I put this person on a pedestal. I loved them. I'd send emails, publicly, happy birthday and all this stuff. And the entire time, this person was casting spells and manipulating me and controlling my job situations, my relationships, just all.
Kimberly Thompson, former drummer, inside the operation for over a decade, and she's in court describing spellcasting, describing manipulation, describing years of psychological control that she says she didn't even recognize while it was happening, because she was so deeply embedded in Beyonce's world. Now, one person makes a claim like that, you can write it off. Mental health issues, bitterness, a bad breakup from a professional relationship. People say wild things, but Kimberly Thompson wasn't the only one.
Beyonce's former dance captain, Ashley Everett, was caught liking some real shady posts and comments. And one of those posts claimed that when people listen to Beyonce, they don't realize they're entertaining demons.
Ashley Everett, dance captain, one of the closest people to Beyonce on stage and off, quietly liking posts that describe her boss as someone channeling demonic energy. That's not a random internet troll. That's someone inside the room who can't speak openly but is telling you something with every share, every moment of coded communication. And then there was Kadia Cherie, a former dancer who worked directly with Beyonce on the Formation video and the 2016 Super Bowl, two of the most symbolically loaded performances of Beyonce's career. What Kadia posted publicly before it was deleted was not vague. It was a direct accusation.
Are you effing serious? You called for my child to be our word? You evil witch. Essence, check on my child. I'm about to blow this ish through the effing roof.
She's accusing Beyonce of wishing harm on her child. And Tasha K, who is not someone who plays around with unverified information, came forward with screenshots and confirmed the post was real before it was scrubbed from the internet. The post was gone within hours, but the receipts survived.
Beyonce is being accused again of doing black magic. Now here's what I'm gonna say. Everybody ain't lying. I spent probably a week doing research on all the people that they were connected with, and all of them are connected to some sort of black magic.
And here's the thing about patterns. When it's one person, brush it off. When it's two, coincidence, maybe. But when you have a drummer, a dance captain, a former tour dancer, and multiple other people who were embedded inside Beyonce's world, all describing some version of the same thing, at some point, the math stops working in her favor. Now let's talk about the night that former NFL player Larry Johnson says changed how he sees the Carters forever. This was early to mid-2000s. Colorado, a late-night rap party. On paper, completely normal. Celebrities, drinks, music, dancing. But then something happened that Johnson says he never forgot.
It had to be like 10 or 11 o'clock. So we getting ready to party. Mind you, it's all adults. There was a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old teenage Latin girl that was there, and I think she had to leave because she had school and she had to do homework, but she brought her mother with her. So it was no funny business going on.
He's setting the scene. He's being careful. He wants you to know, up to this point, nothing weird. Adults only. The one minor present had her mother with her and left early. Standard celebrity party until...
And then out of nowhere came these young children. I don't know where they came from. For a rap party at 11 o'clock at night, drinking, loud music, and us dancing wild. Like, I don't know where these kids came from.
Think about the logistics of that sentence for a second. It's 11 p.m., adults-only event, alcohol flowing, music loud, and suddenly, children, plural, appearing from nowhere at a private party, nobody knowing where they came from or who brought them. And then Johnson sat down near one of these children, and Beyonce was sitting on the other side, and he heard something come out of her mouth that he says he's never been able to shake.
And I sat next to this child, and the child sat next to Beyonce. So I hear B say something about, doesn't this look sexy, or isn't this sexy? And in my mind, and mind you, I'm not awakened as I'm awakened now. So in my mind, I'm like, what did she just say?
He questioned his own ears. He was drinking. He let himself believe he misheard it, but he remembered it. He remembered it well enough to tell the story publicly years later. And the children, those unexplained, unaccompanied children who showed up to a late-night adult party, they stayed, even after Johnson left.
But those kids remained. I don't know if those kids were from the photo shoot themselves, but the fact that these kids came around adults during drinking hours or partying hours was already alarming.
Alarming. That's his word, and he said it clearly. Now here's where we bring it all together. Because everything we've talked about, the Epstein files, the code word jerky, the island, the insiders describing rituals around consuming youth and vitality, the witchcraft allegations around Beyonce, the unexplained children at that Colorado party, all of it converges on one central, deeply unsettling question. What if Beyonce's agelessness isn't a product of good genes and a good skincare routine? What if it's something far more deliberate, far more ritualistic? Think about what the insiders described happening within Epstein's circle. The belief that consumption could transfer vitality, that youth could be absorbed, that the powerful people who understood this, who participated in this, carried something the rest of the world didn't have. And think about who was allegedly connected to that circle. Think about what the files contain. Think about Jay-Z's name appearing in those documents. And now look at Beyonce's face. 50 Cent isn't just trolling when he links these pieces together. He watched what happened with Diddy. He saw how the industry protects its own. He knows how deep these networks run. And when he started posting about Jay-Z and Epstein and then pivoted to hint at Beyonce specifically, he wasn't being reckless. He was following a thread. And consider this, the people who have described these rituals, these beliefs, these practices within the Epstein circle, they don't describe it as something random or impulsive. They describe it as organized, deliberate, generational almost, a private understanding shared among the elite that the masses are never supposed to access. It wasn't framed as cruelty, it was framed as tradition. Tradition, not a one-time thing, not a scandal that happened once in a dark room. A tradition, something passed between circles, something you got invited into, something that once you participated, bound you to everyone else who participated because the secret was too dangerous for any one person to carry alone. And once you're bound to that circle, you stay. You don't divorce, you don't expose, you don't speak. Because if you go down, everyone goes down together. People have been asking for years why Beyonce stays with Jay-Z. Lemonade essentially told the world he cheated, repeatedly. She documented her own pain on a visual album that went platinum. And yet they're still together, still presenting as a united front, still attending events, still collaborating, still doing the whole power couple performance. And the easy answer is money, image, the brand. But what if the reason goes deeper than optics? Mutual assured destruction. That's the framework a lot of people are now operating under when they look at the Carter marriage. Not love, not forgiveness, not even business strategy in the traditional sense. Survival. They know things about each other. They've allegedly been in rooms together that neither of them can afford to have described publicly. And as long as they stay together, as long as the united front holds, neither one of them has to answer the hardest questions. But 50 Cent is asking those questions for them, whether they like it or not. And then there's Kanye West, who tried to tell us something years ago before his public breakdown. Before everything that came after, he made a very specific claim about the Carters and about how the entertainment industry actually operates at the top level.
You know what I'm saying? They can control Shaq. They can control Charles Barkley. They can control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Not you, man.
But they can't control me.
They can't control me. Kanye said that. And look at what happened to Kanye immediately after he started making these kinds of statements publicly. He was hospitalized. His career was dismantled. He became a punchline. The narrative around him shifted so fast and so completely that most people stopped listening to anything he said, which, depending on how cynical you are, was exactly the point. Because if Kanye's right, if the Carters are not the ones actually running things, but are themselves controlled by something bigger, something older, something with more money and more reach, then the Epstein connection isn't a side story. It's the main story. Epstein wasn't just a predator operating alone. He was a node in a network, a connector between powerful people and even more powerful handlers. And those handlers had interests, leverage, and allegedly practices.
Around Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
Monetize and traumatize. Think about how precisely that describes what Epstein's operation allegedly did. Bring people in, get them compromised, film it, use it, own them, and then collect on that ownership for decades. Here's what we know. Here's what's documented, alleged, and impossible to fully ignore when you stack it all together. Jay-Z's name is in the Epstein files. That's not rumor, that's from the files themselves. Beyonce allegedly sent lawyers to silence 50 Cent, which backfired spectacularly and made him more vocal, not less. Multiple former insiders, a drummer, a dance captain, a tour dancer have described disturbing behavior around Beyonce, involving what they called witchcraft, spellcasting, and dark rituals. A former NFL player attended a party with the Carters where children appeared unexpectedly late at night and says he heard Beyonce make a comment about one of those children that he could never reconcile. The Epstein files contain a code word, jerky, that investigators and lawmakers say points to something far darker than food. And the people exchanging those emails were the same ultra-elite circle that people like Jay-Z allegedly had access to. Insiders from within that circle have described a belief system centered on consuming youth to preserve vitality, to stay young, to remain physically untouched by time. And Beyonce, at over 50 years old, looks 25. It's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. And 50 Cent, armed with his own resources, his own sources, his own fearlessness, is not finished. He's building something, whether it's a documentary, a series of exposés, or simply a sustained campaign of pressure that forces the truth to the surface. He's not letting go of this. And here's the thing about the public. Once you show them something, once you connect the dots visibly enough that they can see the shape, you can't unsee it. The media can run all the cover stories they want. PR firms can issue all the statements they want. The Shade Room can delete posts. TMZ can stay quiet. But the question is out there now. Why doesn't Beyonce age? And it's not going away. Now let me be absolutely clear. Everything discussed in this video represents allegations, theories, and claimed testimonies. Nothing here has been proven in a court of law. We present the information, we connect the dots, and we let you decide what you believe. But here's what I'll leave you with. When you have this many voices from inside the industry, from inside the tours, from inside the legal system, from the files themselves, all pointing in the same direction, when the media that normally lives for this kind of story goes radio silent, when lawyers get sent to warn a man like 50 Cent to stand down, that's not nothing. 50 Cent smells beef and popcorn, and so do we. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Beyonce's agelessness is natural, or is there something deeper going on? And do you think 50 Cent actually has enough to make this documentary happen? Because if he does, this story is just getting started. Stay tuned, because we're not done.